and welcome to another MDNA tutorial. My name is Dan Ramirez, and today we're going to talk about how to use smart shapes as buttons in Captivate. So, if you're new to the e-learning world, no worries, we are here to help, and this tutorial is for you. In this tutorial, we're going to talk about how we can use smart shapes as buttons, and this is actually really helpful, especially when you want to customize a course. And this tutorial is for all our new e-learning developers folks. So let's start really quick. Captivate does have predetermined buttons, and we're going to look into it for a bit, just for our new learners to see the difference between buttons from Captivate and smart shapes as buttons. So let's see how it works. At the top menu, we can find an interaction option. Within this panel, we're going to choose the button option. Okay, so as you can see, this is the predetermined button that Captivate has assigned. You can change the color or you can use an image. You can change the color here in style. If you choose text button, it's going to stay the way it is. If you choose transparent button, then you can change to whatever color you want. I'm just playing around here just to show you how it works. You can change the font of the text of the button, and you can change the color of that text. You can also give it shadow, or you can use an image as a button. Now, if you choose an image, you'll see that Captivate has its own images. So you can choose whichever you prefer, but those are predetermined already. Let's use this one. And I mean, they're not bad. I'm just gonna resize it again as well. As you can see, they're not like bad looking buttons. So don't get me wrong, these buttons are really helpful, but there's a limitation on the way you want your buttons to be. Let's say, for example, that I want my buttons to have a shape, any shape for that matter. This won't allow me to use any other shape other than the ones Captivate is offering. And this is where the smart shapes come into place. So now let's see an example on how to use smart shapes as buttons. All you need to do is to choose one smart shape, go to the panel here where it says shapes, choose whatever shape you want. I'm just going to choose a star. And the only thing we need to do is go to properties here and check the box use as button. As you can see now, it automatically, here in my timeline, I can see that it adds a pause. This is how we know it is a button. This allows us, by us checking the use as button box, allows us to give our smart shapes any action we want and start acting as a button. So let's assign just a simple action. Yeah, just leave it like that. I'm just gonna leave it like so. Go to the next slide. Now, here I can change the color, the style, whatever I want. And in image, I actually can bring an image here. There are patterns here as a predetermined here in Captivate, but I can also bring any custom image. Let's say I want to bring this sort of triangle. So we can choose really any image. I'm trying to find an image that can go with it so we can actually see the image. Okay, I'm just gonna use this. Okay, there I have it. This is an image. This is not the gradient fill option, but we have the gradient fill option. So we have a solid color. We can just choose any color. We also have the gradient option. So that means that I can choose here the color I want my smart shape to have. Or, as I said before, we can use an image. I'm gonna leave it as with the gradient color. And before moving, in my next slide, I'm gonna create a button that goes back to the previous slide. And here I'm gonna add another Smart Shape as button with an exit action. So I'll choose this color, a little clearer. I'm just gonna have this on 0. I'm gonna add a text that says exit. I'm gonna change the style of that text. Let's make it a little bit bigger, and I'm gonna change the color of my text. And then here, I'm gonna check the option use as button, and the action will be exit. Perfect. So now before we start testing our course, we need to talk about the states of a button. This means that the button has 3 different designs. Let's say, let's name it design. So the button has 3 different designs depending on the specific movements the learner makes. The first state would be the default state, meaning that the button is not being used, it's just there, exactly how I created it to be. The second state, it's rollover. And this is how we're gonna see the states. We're gonna click on the button, and when it's selected, we're gonna go to properties. And then here under object state, there's an option that says state view. We're gonna click on it. And these are the predetermined states that Captivate has for its particular buttons. So rollover, the second state, as its name states, it's when the mouse rolls over the button, that would mean that it's going to change it to this particular design. And the third option, or the third state, would be down. And that means when the button is clicked, it's going to change to this design. Again, Captivate has this, but we're not able to change it that much. Let's see now our Smart Shape. Now here I have my Smart Shape as button, and the advantage we have, for the pros that we have on using Smart Shapes as buttons, is that if we want to use a different Smart Shape for its rollover state or down, we can do that. I can change to this Smart Shape, and I can change it to a solid color, and I'm gonna change it to blue. And what if when it's down, I want it to have this shape, or I don't know, let's go with this shape. I want it to have this shape, and I want to have an image feel. Now let's test it. Okay, now that I'm back on my film strip, let's go ahead and test it. Okay, see what happens when I roll over? So yeah, my button is a star shape, but when I roll over, it changes to the shape I decided to change. And if I click on it, it's gonna change as well. Now this is another button that I already created with images. And the action I applied to this particular button is go to the previous line. But this is the default, this is the default image. Now when I roll over, this is the rollover image I'm using. And when I click on it, it appears a statement that says this is the Earth. And when I click it, I go back to my previous slide. So see, there's so much we can do. Oh, and as you can see in my exit button, sorry, I didn't created the rollover and the down states. So Captivate is using a predetermined color in rollover and down states. But as you can see, all the buttons have those states. Now, what happens if I don't want my button to change? Well, that's real simple. Let's go back to Captivate and let's use the example on the exit button. We're going to go to State View. And if I don't want my button to change at all, I just delete the state. This is not going to affect your course in any way. This is just for the button to stay as it is. So let's go back to the film strip. Okay, so we have 3 different shapes in the 3 different states this particular button has. We have different colors in the different states that this button has, and we have different images in this particular button. And in this button, we don't have any different state other than the default. But that doesn't mean that it's not gonna act as button. As soon as I add an action to the smart shape, this is gonna act as a button. It doesn't matter if you wanted to have the states or you don't. And let's test it again. So again, this is the default shape. If I roll over, it changes to this particular shape. If I click it, it changes to this shape. It takes me to this other slide. I can go back. And it changes. As soon as I click it, it shows me this image that I created. And I go back. And if I exit, look that it doesn't do anything other than the action of exit that I assigned to it. See? So in summary, as you can see, when we have predetermined buttons, the states have their own colors. And with smart shapes, as you saw, you have the same states, but with more options. You can either change the shapes, you can either change the color, you can either change to pretty much anything you want, or you can even disappear it. Let's create another button real quick. I'm just gonna give it any color. This is button, and I'm gonna assign it go to next slide action, and we're gonna go to state view. What if I want my smart shape to disappear when it rollovers, but when you click it, it changes to another color, let's say red? Well, all you need to do is to make it transparent. Let's see how it works. Let's go back to film strip and let's test it one more time. So there's a lot of things we can do when we use smart shapes as buttons. I hope this was really helpful for you guys. Again, this is for our new e-learning folks that are just getting into Captivate and this e-learning world. And I hope you find this really helpful. Don't forget to check out the rest of our blog and the rest of our tutorials. Have a good one, guys, and see you next time. Bye.